Hello, everybody. This is Georgiana and Meredith from Creativity for Kids, and we are going to be unboxing and putting together the Make Your Own Water Globes Magical Unicorns. All right, Miss Meredith, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Georgiana, and thank you, Felicia. So today, like they said, we're going over our water globes, our magical unicorn water globes. And I love this set because not only do you make one, but a friend could join you and make one too. So it's perfect for crafting together. So let's go ahead and open up the box and see what's inside. Okay. So we have our instructions. All right. We have big chunky glitter. I love. We have our bright neon clay. Very easy to use. These are our little tools for using with the clay and some extra stoppers. We have two little trays, and I'll explain what these are for a little bit later. We have our teal-based water globe and our raspberry or maybe magenta colored water globe. And inside, we have our sweet little unicorns. So here's one of them. And here's the other. And these are special little unicorns that we designed ourselves. So they are unique to this kit. And let's see, I think there should be one more glitter. Here it is. We have our other little glitter here and our glue. So let's open up the instructions and see what we're going to do first here. Well, the first thing it says actually is to divide up your clay and your glitter. So both water globes can be filled to your liking. And of course, you can always use the samples on the box for inspiration. And in the instructions, we actually give you little tips and techniques to make the items that you see in the water globes on the box and in the instructions. So first thing we're going to do is cover the base of our water globe with clay. So let's see, which one should we do? I think we'll do the one like this with a little rainbow and the teal base. So we'll put the raspberry one aside. And I am going to use the sample that's on the box. So you can see here, our sample has an orange ground to it. So we're going to take the orange. There we go. And this clay is modeling clay. So this is not air dry clay. This clay will stay nice and pliable throughout your creating. This clay is also able to withstand water. So that's why it's perfect for the water globes. Just take that all right, buddy. There we go. I'll set that aside. Okay, so what we're going to do is take a hunk of this orange clay, and I'm going to say about half. And I'm going to actually mix in a little bit of pink just to make it look interesting and just kind of spin it together like this. Now, this is actually explained in the instructions as a clay technique called marbling. So we're marbling our clay together And what happens is it starts to look like sherbet. So there's a type of sherbet called Superman, and it actually has 3 different colors of sherbet in it. And if you were to mix maybe like blue in here too, it would look just like Superman sherbet. So I'm gonna hold it up a little closer to see all that pink mixed into the orange. All right, so now we're gonna press it onto the base of our water globe. And this is important. You want to put it on the correct side. So you're not going to put it on the side that has the stopper. You're going to put it on the side that doesn't have the stopper. You can see the stopper, but it's not like poking out. So we're going to cover this side of the base. And all you do is push down and spread it out with your thumbs, kind of like this. And I love using this color up against the teal because it really, really pops. And for all of you artists out there, you probably know that orange and blue are complementary colors. So that's another reason why this color combination pops really well, because the teal has notes of blue in it and our orange just is electric next to it. So what I'm doing, and I'll show you, I'm pushing the clay all the way to the edge. So it's going up and even maybe over the edge a little bit. And why I'm doing that is because when we put the top of the water globe on, that's actually going to really help seal the water globe closed. And that's important so none of the water seeps out when you are shaking your water globe. So you don't really want to have any little air pockets or areas that the clay doesn't go all the way up to the edge of your base. There you go. Okay, you can see, oh, maybe here I need to do a little bit more. There we go. All right, so now we have our base covered. So the next thing we're going to do is make sure that we're able to put the water in. So we're going to flip our base over and actually remove the stopper and set it aside for a second and get out one of our tools. And this tool here that has a little bit of an edge works really well for this step. You're going to poke it in where the stopper goes and kind of twist it in a circle like this. So now on this side, you can see where you poked through and remove that clay. So we can just kind of spin it again. So we're clearing out the hole in order for us to put the water in after we're done decorating. And if you flip it over and you see, oh, there's still some clay there, just use your tool and pick it out. There we go. Okay, and now you can put the stopper back in. Bingo. Okay, next. Decorate your scene. Okay, so you can make flowers, little berry trees, a rainbow, clouds, little friends for your unicorns, whatever you want. But again, we are basing this one off of our sample here. So we're going to do a rainbow and at least a cloud and maybe a sunshine if we have time. So let's start with our rainbow. And you can use whatever colors you want. I'm not going to use orange because we did just use it for the base. So I'm going to use yellow and pink and purple. So I'm going to take about an inch of pink and roll it and just see how long that little rod that we create is. So we're just going to put it down on our paper. And I'm using these instructions as my work surface because they are coated and the clay won't stick to them. So the instructions are like a coated paper, which works really well for rolling clay out on them. And this also helps your work surface stay clean. If you don't want to use your instructions as your work surface, that's okay too. If you have a plastic placemat or even like a paper plate that's coated with something that's kind of shiny, you can use that too. All right, so this was quite a big rod. That's great. So I'm going to go ahead and make my yellow. So I'm going to pinch off about an inch. And how I'm measuring this is just taking my finger and where my finger bends to the fingertip, I'm using that as my measuring tool. But if you have an actual ruler, you could use that too. So I say use what you have around. So we're just rolling this out. And the way that you can get a nice even rod is by kind of starting in the center and rolling outward with your fingers and applying about the same pressure throughout. Now I am holding on to my instructions with my other hand, but you could use two hands to do this too. And you do the same thing by just kind of moving your fingers outward as you roll, and that will help create a long rod that's pretty consistent in size. So we have our pink, we have our yellow, and they look so cool together. Look at that. Love it. And purple. So again, just measuring a pinch off and rolling. Now, if you're a quick worker and you're already done rolling all your clay, maybe you want to include another color, or you can skip ahead and read further into the instructions to see what you do next. But this is really quick and easy. Making a rainbow is pretty quick and easy, and I feel like everyone can create a rainbow, so I think it's a really good thing to start with. All right, our purple, our pink, and our yellow. Now I haven't pushed them together yet, so they're still kind of loose, but what we want to do next is push them together. So I'm going to use my tool, and this time I'm going to use the tool that has like a little paddle on the end. So it looks like this. It's rounded, and it's going to be, we're going to just push against the clay so it smears together. So smear, 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 and smear, smear, smear. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing down on the yellow and smearing it into the pink. And I'll show you what that looks like. So pushing into the yellow and smearing it into the pink. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the purple. So you can see it's becoming, 2 of those rods are becoming 1. And why we're doing this is so it's easier for us to put the rainbow together into the water globe base. Because it's a little harder to put 3 rods into the base rather than just like 1 piece all together. Hey. And this is actually another technique that you can do with your clay for decoration, is smearing it like this. You can kind of get a tie-dye effect if you smear a couple colors together and it looks pretty. So see if I can show you that. There we go. And here we go. So on this side, you can see this smeary effect. And then on this side, it looks like our rainbow. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is place the rainbow onto our base. So we kind of need to measure how big we want our rainbow. And we have to take into consideration the fact that it needs to fit inside the globe. So we're gonna put it in, kind of round it out to create that rainbow shape. I'll show you here, just like this, and kind of just hold it up. And this looks like you can kind of stick it on. This might be a little, yep, that's a little bit too big. So we're going to have to cut off some of our rainbow in order for it to fit. So we'll use the knife type edge of our tool and just cut it straight across, just like that. Cut it straight across, just like that. And then let's test it out again. Aha, way better. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, and I can show you at this angle. Thank you, Georgiana. So we're going to use our little smearing tool again, and we're going to smear the rainbow down onto the base, just like that. And smearing the rainbow onto the base. So you can see the end of the rainbow is smeared onto the base. And how you can test it is holding it upside down and seeing if your piece falls off. So you can see it's on there really nicely and it's not going to move. And I just smeared the back of the rainbow, but you can smear the front of the rainbow too if you want, if you feel like you need to have it a little bit more sturdy. All right, the next thing that we have in our snow globe is a sunshine and a cloud, as well as our little figurine. So let's go ahead and make a little cloud. So I used the blue to make a cloud, and how I made a cloud was really easy. I just pinched off some blue and then pinched that in half, and then pinched half of that in half. And then I just made some balls by rolling it in my hand. So just to show you a little bit slower, you can create a ball by just rolling a piece of clay in your hand like that. And then you just push it down to flatten it. So what I'm doing is I'm creating 3 smushed balls of blue clay and going to put them together in the shape of a cloud. So it's a very simple type of cloud, and maybe you'd find a different way to make a cloud, and that's cool too. We encourage creativity and exploration on how to make things. So if you are following along and have this kit at home, and come up with a really fun water globe you'd like to share, go ahead and take a picture of it or have an adult take a picture of it, and you can share it on our Facebook page or on Michael's Facebook page, or tag us on Instagram if you want. All right, so what I did, those 3 balls, I smushed together so they created this shape of a cloud. And I'll peel it off our instructions here so you can see a little bit better on this side the lines of where the balls were. So here's 1, here's 2, and then the third one kind of overlapped them from behind. So now we have our little cloud, and it's time to put it on our rainbow, but I'm seeing it's kind of big. I don't really want such a large cloud, so I'm going to cut off the bottom part of it. So just using our tool like that, cutting off the bottom part. Now it's a little bit smaller, but you do want to remember when you're doing things like this and you're resizing stuff that you want to keep enough clay at the bottom so you can smush it onto your base. So here we go. That's way better. So we'll use our smearing tool again. And this time I'm going to smear it from the front because it's easier to access than smearing it from the back. I'm going to try and smear it a little bit though. And back here, you can reach just a little bit. All right, so you can see the smear marks up in there, and then the smear marks in the front. And to soften the look, I'm just going to use my finger and kind of just smush it with my finger too. And you can push it up against the rainbow to hold it in place as well. So ta-da! Here is our cloud. And I think I moved the shape of our rainbow a little bit so you can kind of just move it back. And that's what I really love about this clay. Since it doesn't dry, you can keep moving things if you want. If you accidentally move it out of place, you can just move it back. All right, so we'll do a sunshine next. And sunshine is pretty easy. We're making a ball for the center of the sunshine and pushing it down like that. And I did get a little blue in there, but that's okay. I'm just going to flip it over and use that side instead. And for the sun rays, we just need to make little rods, or one long rod and then cut it into little rods that'll be the sun rays. So again, just rolling it and spreading your fingers to make it a longer rod, like that, just like that. And then I'm going to push, well, first I'm going to cut the rod. So I have 4 sun rays, and you can make as many sun rays as you want. Actually, I have a couple more because I cut them off of the rainbow. So I'll reuse these too. Yay. All right, so I'm going to just place them onto the back of the sun and smush it onto the back of the sun. Smush. And smush. Another sun ray. And two more, one right here. And one right here. Okay, so this is how it looks right now. Yeah. And the sun rays aren't even, but that's okay with me. If you do want to make them even, you can always trim your sun rays down. The most important thing is to adhere them enough, to smush them enough so they don't fall off when you are shaking your water globe though. All right, so time to place our little sunshine on our rainbow. So I'm going to bend two of the sun rays down. They kind of look like feet, which is kind of adorable. So I'm okay with that. So I'm going to leave it like that and just push the sun up against the rainbow and then give it a shake and make sure it's on there, which it is, but just to make sure it stays on there, his little legs, I'm going to push down because we don't want our sun flying around in our water globe when he's actually supposed to be sitting still. So now this little ray over here is probably going to get touched by the edge of the by the globe, and you can see it's being pushed upward. So I'm going to actually push it frontwards, knowing that it needs to be out of the way of the globe. So there we go. Now my little sun and my little cloud actually had faces on them, like you can see in here. So if you want to take the time and make little faces, you can always just add a little face to yours. But today, we're not going to take the time to do that. We are going to go ahead and add our unicorn though. So when you're adding your unicorn figurines, it's pretty simple. Just grab a clump of clay, and I'm going to add that pink in there again. So I'm grabbing the orange and the pink and mixing it together so it matches the color of our base. And then I'm going to push it onto the base in a large clump because this is going to give extra stability to our little unicorn. So I'm going to get a front shot here and show you. I have this amount of extra clay on there. And all you do is push your unicorn's feet down into the clump of clay. Yay! So there we go. And of course, you want to make sure that your unicorn is in there securely. So do the flip test, give it a shake, and make sure that it's not going anywhere. And now, this is one of the best parts ever. Now is the time you get to add glitter. So I like using the little glitter, which is the finer of the two that you're given in this kit. You're given the little glitter like this, and then you're given the chunky glitter like that. So I'm using the little fine glitter to put on everything. Oh, And for you who are a little hesitant about glitter getting everywhere, you can put a piece of paper down and then the glitter, any extra glitter will go on the paper, and then you can re-glitter your globe with the excess glitter. So I'm putting glitter all over, just like this, even tilting it up so the glitter goes on top and on the front part of our rainbow and our cloud and our sunshine. So you can see all of that awesome glitter. And you can move it around with your hand a little with your finger, make sure it gets everywhere you want it. Because one thing about a magical unicorn water globe is that it sparkles. So we need it to sparkle as much as you want. Cool. All right, so the other glitter, we're going to put in it as well. We're not going to push this glitter down. And actually, I'm going to put it back here where we have a lot of empty space. I'm going to put this glitter back here, and it's going to kind of sit on top of the clay instead of being pushed into the clay. So this glitter will be the glitter that floats around when you shake your water globe. And you can always put more of this glitter too. But you do want to save some for your other water globe, or if a friend is creating with you for their water globe. Okay. All right, so we do want to make sure that the glitter is away from the edge of your water globe where the base meets the globe. And that's also because we want a nice, tight, secure closure of the globe onto the base. So you kind of just line up the globe, the bottom of the globe to the base, and try and make sure that the globe is on the inside of the base. And you just push down, and you'll know that it's securely going in if you see the clay start pushing out the edges. So just kind of turn it and keep pushing down, and I'll show you a close-up. You can see the clay has oozed out the side, and that's a good thing. We want the clay to ooze out the side, so it's a nice tight seal. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare for adding water to our water globe. And how we do that is you can use your tool and you clear off any extra clay like this. Wow, this tool is working really well. So that extra clay we'll just put to the side. And then you're given this glue. So just put a ring of glue where the base and the globe meet. And you want to make sure that it's touching both the globe and the base. Now this glue takes a little while to dry, so just depends on like a lot of different things, but I would say at least 2 hours, let it dry, if not overnight. I like to let my water globes just kind of like settle and dry overnight, just so there's no possible leakage. All right, so we're going to set this one aside because I just put the glue on, and like I said, we want it to dry. But I did do the glue on this one earlier, so I can show you what to do next in order to get water in your globe. Now we say that working over a sink is what works best, but since I don't have a sink right here, I'm just going to use a bowl like this. And I have some water here. And what you have to do is remove the stopper from your base of your snow globe. And then you put the little, you're given this cute little funnel. So put the funnel into that hole of your, of the base of the snow globe. And then just kind of very cautiously. All right, hold on one second here. I'm gonna use my other hand. Kind of just cautiously pour water into your funnel. Let's see if we can get a front view of that. So if you go kind of slow, oops, and you'll see the water go down, down, down into your water globe. And let's see if I move it back a little, you might be able to see it a little bit better. So you just keep pouring it until your water globe is full. Now you might get a little air bubble when you're using the funnel, and that's okay. All you do is you lift up the funnel and the air bubble will go away. There we go. And I got a little bit of water on the bottom of the base. So I was just pouring that out. So it's easier to do, instead of doing it like this, it's easier to do with a faucet. So you just put a little stream of water coming from your faucet and into your funnel. And then that goes right into your water globe. Oh, this is a good amount. This is a nice steady stream. So you might need an older friend or an adult's help with this. But we're getting there. And also, there's some tips and tricks inside the instructions that say using bottled water might make your water globe, it might make it look clearer. There's been some people reach out and say, hey, if you put a little bit of soap, like a teeny tiny little bit of soap on the inside of the globe of your water globe, it actually helps the, oops, I think I'm all filled, helps the glitter move around better. So I filled it a little too much. There we go. And then all you do is you put your stopper back in, just like that. I'm going to dry what I have on here. Dry that up. And then we'll flip it over and dry it off. Yeah. Okay. So now we have our water in our water globe. And all you have to do is shake it and watch all your glitter float around. So it is quite a magical craft. And I hope that you guys get some great results just like we did today. So let's go ahead with the front face. All right. Ta-da! So we have a ton of different water globe kits But I really love this one, our make your own water globes, magical unicorn. Like I said, it's perfect to craft by yourself or with a friend. And I hope you can join me again for the next craft we do here with Michaels. Have a great day. Bye-bye.